So yeah, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. The big question is, like, tell me more about the story about how you got into the video gaming industry, I guess, or like how we reached this point. And the story goes all the way back to I was a kid. I was 15, and my aunt was the manager at the Kentucky Fried Chicken, actually here in Redmond. And she reached out and she's like, "Hey, do you want to come work for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I like money. I'd like to work. I'd like to start something." So she hired me, and I was an all-star. That's what they called a new hire, an all-star at KFC in Redmond, and that was really interesting. Like, I was very shy as a kid growing up, and being put face first with other humans and having to interact with them and having to talk to them was a big deal. So I still remember, like, my first customer, and I was stressed out and I couldn't even make eye contact with them. But long story short, like, 2.5 years had passed by and I was still working at KFC, and it wasn't really the future that I had envisioned. It wasn't the place that I thought I'd be at that point in life, even though I was still like 17. So anyway, one day I'm working the front counter, and it's dead. It's not busy at all. It's between like noon, which is lunch rush hour, and like 4 p.m., which is like pre-dinner. And the lobby is clean, the trays are clean. I already took out the trash. Everything was set and ready to go for the dinner rush hour. So I go in the lobby and I'm like wiping down tables again. And I see, well, I hear this awesome exhaust note, right? And I'm like, oh, I got to see this. What I forgot to mention is that I was raised by my grandfather, who was a mechanic, and he loved cars. He would buy old beaters, fix them up, and flip them, sell them. And being raised by my grandparents, like, I was always there, holding the flashlight, bringing a socket wrench, a hammer, a screwdriver, what have you, and just helping around the cars. And that's sort of how I got into cars to begin with. So anyway, I hear this exhaust note, and I'm like, I have to see what this is. And sure enough, it's this gorgeous Ferrari 360 Modena that pulls into the parking lot, pulls into a stall, and I'm like, snaps, I'm gonna go behind the counter. I gotta take the order. So a gentleman comes in, and like, I'll never forget this day. It's just sort of singed in my permanent hard drive. He comes in and he orders a number 4, which at the time was 3-strip combo, which came with 2 side dishes, a biscuit, and a drink. I don't know if it's still number 4 now. I don't know, but I remember this clearly. I take his order, I give him his food, and he goes and sits down in the lobby and starts eating. And I'm like sitting there going like, man, I gotta go talk to this guy. This is a really cool car. So I take my little like rag thing, and I'm gonna go back into the lobby and start wiping down the tables, making my way to eventually muster up enough courage to talk to him. And as I come out, I take a closer look at the Ferrari, and I notice that his license plate is Xbox 360. All right, now this is 2005, so the Xbox 360 was announced, but it didn't actually launch just yet. I think it launched in November of 2005. So I know all about the Xbox 360 because I've read all the articles, right? I'm excited because I'm a gamer as well, right? And so now I really want to talk to this guy. And like, I'm on the fence. I'm sort of like, I don't want to disturb him. He's having lunch. And then just something came over me, and I was like, I have nothing to lose. I'm 17. I'm gonna talk to this guy. So I walk up to him and I say, first I ask him if everything's good. Like, is the meal okay? Like, is everything up to his standards? Even though it was KFC. And I muster up the courage and I say, excuse me, sir. Don't mind me asking, but what is it that you do that allows you to basically drive a Ferrari and be into video games, judging from your license plate. He was super nice and super kind, and he tells me who he is. His name was Jay Allard, and like super big shot at Microsoft and Xbox. And like, I'm just blown away. And we're talking about video games, about like our favorite genres and how I got into gaming. I tell him about my very first console, the Atari 2600, and like Pitfall and the little cartridges and little joystick, and just make our way through our gaming history. And at the end of the conversation, you know, he asked me if I'd be interested at getting into the gaming industry, and I said, absolutely. And then he asked me how old I am, and I was like, I'm actually 17. And so he takes out his wallet and he gives me his business card and says, why don't you shoot me an email when you turn 18? So I'm super grateful and super thankful, and you know, I wish him a great day. I put his card in my wallet. I get back to work. It was an amazing day. Fast forward a couple months, and I turn 18, and like I'm feeling pretty good. I think I was cleaning out my wallet. I'd forgotten about the interaction with Jay, and I find his business card in my wallet, and I'm like, oh snaps, that's right, I remember this. So I run to my computer and I start like spending the next 2 hours trying to craft an email to this guy who hopefully will remember me. And you know, I do my best. I send the email out. You know, I'm hopeful. I'm running through a bunch of simulations and scenarios in my head of like, oh, what's it gonna be? What's gonna happen? Nothing happens. There's no response back for a couple of weeks. I'm back at KFC. I'm doing my thing. Lunch rush hour is happening. There's a line from like the front counter all the way out the restaurant. And, you know, I'm taking orders. And this gentleman comes up and I ask him, you know, for here to go. And he says, for here. And then he says, are you James? And I said, yes, I am. A little tiny part of me wanted to like point at the name tag, be like, yeah, no, this is me. It says All-Star. In like a funny way, you know, not a jerky way. And he goes, well, I work for Volt Technical Resources, and I would love to chat with you about the opportunity for you to potentially enter the video gaming industry. And I lose my mind. Like I lost it. I immediately connect the dots, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I think this might be my moment, right? So I take his order, I give him his food, and I immediately run into the back office, and my aunt is in the office, right? She's doing manager stuff, I don't know. And I go, Flora, you gotta do me a huge favor. I need to take my break right now. And she's looking at me like I'm crazy because I must have had some crazy look on my face. She's like, but it's the lunch rush hour. Like, I need you out front. And I'm like, no, listen, please. I really need you to help me out here. Something's happening. I'm not quite sure what, but I need your help. So can you please cover for me? Sure enough, she's nice enough. She takes over, and I go and sit down and I start talking to this gentleman. And he goes, it sounds like you want to enter the gaming industry and you'd be interested at like potentially a testing position. I said, absolutely I am. Yes, I am. He's like, okay, do you have a resume? I said, no. He's like, can you put a resume together and send it my way? And he gives me his business card. And I said, absolutely. So I'm on cloud nine. Like I'm losing my mind. I'm excited. I finish out the rest of the day. I get home and I start like searching online for like how to build a resume and how to do. I didn't have to build a resume for KFC, right? My aunt was the manager, so it just happened. And yeah, I'm thinking like, what do I even put down? Like customer service, fast food industry, 3+ years. I send the email out. Fast forward a couple weeks, I'm actually dressing up for my interview at Millennium Campus, which is here in Redmond, for a base tester position in the Microsoft test organization, GTO, Games Testing Org. And the first interview that I did, a guy passed up on me. The second interview that I did, the guy was a yes, and I officially entered the Microsoft family as a contractor game tester. On the test, Recon Delta was the first test team that I was ever on. And Recon Delta was basically tasked with giving polish, balance feedback on multiple titles for the Xbox 360. And we're talking like a couple weeks before the game goes gold, basically, and basically the whole build goes to the print shop so they can start putting the bits on the discs. So it's balance feedback, like difficulty, polish, and the like. Fast forward a couple more weeks, and I'm in the Millennium cafeteria trying to get lunch, and I'm holding my tray, and I'm still in awe that I'm there, and I see, out of the corner of my eye, I see Jay Allard sitting at a table reading a newspaper in the Millennium Cafe. And again, I freak out. I'm like, this is him. Like, this is the guy. Like, so I'm like struggling, and everything goes slow-mo. Like, my adrenaline kicks in, and I'm slowly making my way to pay for my food. And I'm thinking, like, do I talk to him? Does he remember me? What if he doesn't? Then I'll feel bad. And like, who's this guy? Super stressed. As I'm like still contemplating, like I pay for my food, I'm still contemplating whether I should approach him or not. Like, he notices me and smiles and says, glad to see you made it. Welcome. I lost it. I lost it. He remembered me, and he knew who I was, and I really felt like I had made it then. And yeah, the rest is history. I mean, I did multiple contracts at Microsoft in the gaming org. Highlights, one of them was Halo 2 multiplayer map pack, Project Gotham Racing 3, Forza Motorsport 3, and then started being really focused on Halo. Did Halo Reach, Halo 4, Halo 5, and now Halo Infinite. And the story gets even crazier, is that I, over the years made, lots of contacts and many friends, and I posted this story of how I actually got into gaming on Facebook. And a close friend of mine who used to work with us at 343 and now is no longer with us, but she reaches out, she's still at Microsoft, she reaches out and goes, what was the license plate again? I said it was Xbox 360. She goes, okay, I think I have the license plate from Jay's Ferrari. And I got emotional. This was literally less than 2 weeks ago. It's 2019, right? Everything happened in 2005, right? So just a smidge over 15 years. And I'm like, you can't be serious. She goes, let me double check. If I can get it to you, I will. And sure enough, a couple weeks ago, she messages me. She goes, are you in today? I'm like, I am. She's like, do you want to come downstairs? I have something for you. And I meet her, and she gives me that license plate, which just blew my mind. Like, it's come full circle, right? Like, if it wasn't for that car and that license plate, I never probably would have talked to Jay Allard. The car was amazing, and the license plate screamed video gaming, and those are two things that I love. And that, and mustering up the courage to actually talk to him, if that wouldn't have happened, I probably wouldn't be here right now in this spot, doing this right now. So it's insane, it's ridiculous. Now that plate sits at home in my home office as a reminder that the smallest of gestures could lead to great things. And I try to carry that and pay it forward, and realize that there are people that are currently in the position that I was 16 years ago, and the smallest of gestures, the smallest of conversations can lead to epic things.